Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Mercy. I'm a BSN RN, and on this channel I talk about nursing, lifestyle, beauty, vlogs, and a lot of other good stuff. So if you're new to my channel and you would like to join my family, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and also hit the notification button so that way you'll never miss another video from me again. And for my return viewers, I'd like to say welcome back. Today's topic is going to be about my transition from an LPN, primarily working in the home health setting, to an RN working in the hospital. So if you want to hear all about this and tips that will help you transition, then please stay tuned. So for those of you who are my return viewers, you already know that before I became a registered nurse, I was a LPN. And I've told you the story before of how I became a home health aide, and then I got my LPN and I went on to work in the home health setting as well because I was already comfortable in that role. I actually had the same patient when I transitioned from being a home health aide to an LPN. It was all a coincidence, but that's a story for another day. I've already made a video on that, and if you haven't seen it, I can link that down below. So with that being said, I was an LPN for about 3.5 years before I became an RN. My goal was to become an RN, but I had a lot of setback and struggles getting my RN. So I went from home health aide, LPN, RN, BSN, and that's the route I took. It took me 12 months to become an LPN. When I became an LPN, I knew I wanted to go back and get my RN, so I went ahead and worked a lot. I was working 2 to 3 jobs because the school I wanted to go to was a very expensive school. It was private and it was very expensive because the community college that I originally wanted to go to had a long waiting list at the time. I'm pretty sure it's not like that anymore because nursing has become so popular and there are a lot more schools than the time when I wanted to go to school. This was back in 2012. I was, really young, fresh out of high school and all of that. I went ahead and got my LPN. I worked a lot for 1 year because I wanted to save up a lot of money because I didn't want to worry about working too much and going to school and trying to pay for school and stuff like that. For about 13 months, I worked my butt off while trying to apply for the nursing program at Chamberlain University. So I got accepted. I had my set date to start and everything, but I continued to work and prepare myself. When I got accepted into the program, it took me about 2 years to get my bachelor's degree. This case is different for everyone. As I said, I had credits already from a community college. I had my LPN already, so I had a lot of factors going for me. So during that time, I was still working. When I was in school, I was still working, but not as much. So I was doing a lot of home health visits, and I also had some shift work that I was doing as well. But all of this was in the home health setting. From the visits to the shift work and everything, I never physically worked with any co-workers unless I was training someone who the company had just hired to work with the same patient I was working for, or if I had to train someone for any reason at all. That was the only time I ever got to interact with a co-worker. But other than that, when you go out into the field as a home health nurse, you're usually working on your own. So you drive to the patient's house and you do whatever you're supposed to do, or you stay there for however long your shift is. There is no supervisor, no manager, no co-worker, no nothing. I was working for different agencies at the time. There was usually a DON, which stands for Director of Nursing. So if you have questions, you can always call the office and ask them, or if you have a problem with a patient, or for some reason you can't find the patient's house, or whatever issue you have, you can always call the company. There are usually people there to help you out. So that is what I did for 3 years. So I worked 1 year after my LPN program, and then I worked another 2 years while I was in school getting my bachelor's degree. So I learned a lot from tracheotomy care, tube feedings, nasal tube, G-tube, PEG tube, wound dressing. I did a lot of wound care, changing a patient. Just a lot. I can't remember everything offhand now. Pediatric patients, I had some geriatric patients, I had some blind patients, I had some quadriplegics. I had just a little bit of everything. I felt like I learned a lot. The thing with home health is home health patients are usually more stable than hospital patients. So your patients who are home, your job as a home health nurse is to help keep them at home. So you maintain their care. So let's say a patient had a surgery, they come home. Your job as a home health nurse is to make sure they don't go back to the hospital. So you prevent them from falling, you prevent them from getting infections, you help them understand their medication treatment regimen. You help them with their wound dressing until the surgical site is healed. You're just basically there to help them with whatever they need to keep them in their home, because it's cheaper to be at their own home than to be occupying a hospital room. So those patients are stable. There's very little chance of an emergency happening. Not that it couldn't happen. And you're taking care of that one patient at a time. So your sole focus is on that one person. So I did that for a while. I felt like I got a lot of exposure nursing wise, and I really liked it because I get bored easily. I like to do things and move around and just be out there. I don't like to do routine over and over and over. So I really like the fact that I was getting to meet new patients all the time, work with different companies, different cases, you know, diabetic patients, giving insulin and teaching them how to administer their own insulin or checking their blood sugar or stuff like that. So I really liked that. So then once I graduated from the RN program, I got a hospital job, and I've talked to you guys about this before. First of all, my first hospital nursing job was horrible, not because of the job itself, but because of the culture and the person who was precepting me. And secondly, I felt like I wasn't 100% ready, if that makes sense. I had clinical throughout my RN program, but a lot of you know school is not the same as your job. School prepares you for what you might see. It shows you the book part of nursing, you know, the concept of nursing, but nothing really prepares you for nursing than the actual job itself. So I felt overwhelmed. I felt inadequate. I felt like I wasn't ready. I felt scared. I felt like I had all kinds of emotions going on. And if you talk to any new nurse, this is a very critical time for new nurses, because this is when a lot of nurses quit nursing forever. Those first few months, sometimes up to a year. Some people go into depression. Some people start having anxiety. Some people just quit nursing and leave. So it was hard, not because of me being a new nurse, but because I was already used to something else. I was already used to only having that one patient at a time. Working in the hospital was my first big corporate job. Before I became a nurse, I used to do hair at home. I had one other job working at a payday loan office, but when I was on my shift, it was just me, and then there was another lady who would come and take over. And I only did that for about 9 months. So as far as working in the big corporation like other people do, you know, like working in a restaurant or working in the hospital, or, you know, working somewhere big where you have a lot of supervisors walking around, and your boss and your co-worker and this and that, I never really experienced that. That was the first time I had experienced anything like that. So it was very overwhelming. I was really scared at the time, and I felt like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Even when I left that toxic job and went to another place where everybody was so sweet and so nice, I personally just felt so scared, because I just felt like, wow, you're telling me I have to take care of 5 patients by myself for 12 hours, and I have to keep an eye on them. I have to do every single thing that needs to be done for them and report to other people. That was just scary for me, because I was used to something completely different than this. So it just took a lot of support from my co-workers, and, you know, watching a lot of YouTube videos and talking to friends and family and going to church and praying. And so it just took a lot for me to say, you know what, if they can do it, then so can I. But I promise you guys, it gets better. As I always try to tell you guys, with everything in life, the beginning is always really hard. Only a few people go into certain things and they catch on like that. But the rest of us, it takes time, and it takes really trying your best to become good at it or to become comfortable with it. Up to this day, I'm never comfortable when I go to work, and I feel like that's normal, because when you start to become comfortable and become arrogant, I feel like that's where people run into trouble. There's always room to learn. There's always room to improve. Up to this day, sometimes when I get assigned to a certain kind of patient that I've never taken care of before, I get really nervous, and I try to find the charge nurse or a more experienced nurse who knows about this patient and just stick with them all day and just ask a lot of questions. So I feel like you're never going to be completely comfortable, but there is a comfort level that you are going to reach. So just because you're having a difficult time at the beginning or or you feel scared, you feel anxious, you feel overwhelmed, doesn't mean that you made the wrong decision. Unless you really truly believe that nursing is not for you, then that's a different case. But it's normal to be scared. It's normal to feel like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But then you start to get comfortable. You start to do the same things over and over, and it starts to get better. So that is my transition. I know I got an email of someone asking me to tell them a little story time about how I was able to transition. That's just how it happened for me. For me, it wasn't a smooth transition because I had that experience at the beginning and I thought I was completely done with nursing. It took me really being brave to go back and say, you know what? I'm not going to let that experience take over my career that I fought so hard to get. So that's how I got back into nursing. And yes, I knew it was still going to be hard. I knew I was going to have those, sleepless nights or difficult time at work, but it just takes being brave and trying to, fight through it. And now I would say I'm a little more comfortable than I was maybe 2-3 years ago when I first started working. So yeah, that is my story, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. If you did like the video, please go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe down below and also hit the notification button. And if you really like the video and you would like to share it, please go ahead and share the video with all your friends and family on your social media so that they too would benefit from this information. Thank you guys again so much. If you have any questions or comment for me, leave them down below. And as you guys know, I do my best to answer each and every comment. So please go ahead and leave those comments down below or questions, and I will definitely do my best to get back to you guys. Thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.